It wasn't a ghost. Joe Biden's back. The revenge tour's in full swing. First stop was the BBC. Today, The View. After a little trouble finding a seat, he called the country sexist.
Why do you think the vice president lost, and were you surprised?
I wasn't surprised, not because I didn't think the vice president's the most qualified person to be president, and she is. She's qualified to be president of the United States of America.
Right.
But I was surprised. I wasn't surprised because they went the route of the sexist route, the whole route. I mean, this is a woman, she's this, she's that. I mean, it really, I've never seen quite as successful and a consistent campaign undercutting the notion that a woman couldn't lead the country and a woman of mixed race.
Biden just said he knew Kamala was going to lose. He said, of course she was going to lose. She's a woman. You saw what happened to Hillary. America's sexist. Biden went on The View and said, I told you so. You never should have staged the coup. I can't believe you thought Kamala was going to win, you idiots. Remember, he only endorsed her as payback to Barack after he got whacked. Kamala's whole campaign blew up on The View. Remember? She couldn't think of anything she'd do differently. Joe just went back to the scene of the crime.
There has been some reporting that you encouraged her for there to be no daylight between the two of you. First, is that true? And do you think in retrospect that she should have tried to differentiate all the wins that your administration had?
Well, look, first of all, I did not advise her to say that, number one. Like I said, I was vice president. I understand the role, number one. Number two, I think she was talking about wouldn't have changed the successes we've had, not opposed to that we wouldn't change anything at all. She has to be her own person, and she was. She was part of every success we had.
Biden did it again. He still won't let Kamala have any daylight between them. She's going to be running in 28, and Biden's going to be on a rocking chair saying, I taught her everything she knows. Then he says he shouldn't have stepped down.
Boy. So we got to talk about this CNN panel debate involving the conversation that happened on The View with Joe Biden and the cackling hens, in which Joe Biden claimed that Kamala Harris lost the election to Trump, not because she's a bad candidate, right? Because she's not a very talented politician, and the fact that she's associated with what I believe to be one of the worst administrations in American history. I mean, it certainly is the worst administration of this century and probably still will be after the next 75 years, right? People are going to look back and say, yeah, Joe Biden and Kamala Harris had the worst administration of the last 100 years, right? Absolutely terrible, okay? But according to Joe Biden, no, it's not any of that. That's not the reason why Kamala lost. No. Again, it's sexism, bigotry, hate, etc. It's not the fact that Kamala Harris sucks or that Joe Biden gave Kamala Harris bad advice, like, for example, saying that, hey, no daylight, kid, right? No daylight between us, in which he's, kind of denying that. He's saying, well, she could have been her own person. But I don't know, man. When asked about what she would do differently than Joe Biden, she couldn't come up with anything, right? It's almost as if she really didn't want to throw Joe Biden under the bus, even though she needed to do so in order to have a chance of winning. So that being said, the CNN panel is going to discuss this interview from Joe Biden, and Scott Jennings is going to drop a warning on the Democrat Party in regards to the information that's about to come out in one of these books that is being written to beat a dead horse wise down, right, about Joe Biden and his cognitive decline that the mainstream liberal media is pretending they didn't know about, and they're basically trying to blame the Democrats. Okay, fascinating stuff. Without further ado, let's get into it.
But why can't Joe Biden understand that? That it was immigration, the economy. Why? I mean, I thought that was one of the most striking things was his unwillingness to even acknowledge that maybe some of the issues had to do with it too.
No, if you watch the entire interview, he did acknowledge it and he took responsibility. He said, look, I was in charge. So yeah, the buck stops with me. It is my responsibility. I think part of what happened between Joe Biden and Kamala Harris and this entire election is that there's a lot of affection and loyalty between the two. There was a lot of gossip for 4 years that they didn't like each other, that he was undercutting her, that she was unhappy. I think she couldn't distance herself from him out of loyalty. And I think today what you heard from him was a lot of deference and affection towards his vice president, a role that he played.
But let me ask you a question, though. He said he wasn't surprised that she lost, but that he would have won the race. That's like saying, well, I was a boat anchor on my vice president, so she drowned in this election, but the anchor itself would have floated. That's that is crazy talk for him to say that.
He did not say that he would have won the race.
He literally said,
he's like,
I wasn't surprised, but I would have
won.
won. The idea that he believes to this day.
Here's
one more issue.
I mean, he not only said that, but he has said it repeatedly.
Here's the thing. Wait.
He's crapping
Let's
on
go
her.
back to what you said about racism. Can we just take a moment and talk about a white guy saying that racism's white should win, and also the same white guy, Joe Biden, says I would have won. Like, you were one and the same person here. Like, if you're going to blame racism, it's absurd. My point is, the idea that she lost because of racism is absurd. She lost because the country was in a disastrous place, and they blamed him and his politics that she had to defend.
Can I tell you something?
And he's a white guy saying, as a white guy, he won and she didn't win.
You as a white guy have the privilege of saying that racism, and you as a white male.
I'm saying it's an incredibly
I am telling you right now.
Statement as a white guy to sit there on stage and say, I would have won with the same policies that she ran on.
As a woman of color, I am telling you that it is incredibly ridiculous for you, with the privilege that being a white male gives you in this country, to say that there wasn't some element of racism and sexism.
But I think if you guys
I think it's even more ridiculous, right? I think that it's more ridiculous that these so-called people of color, right, think that their opinions hold more weight than anybody else, right? Like his lived experience as a white guy, right, basically tells him that, hey, I don't think I have significant advantages over other people based off my race, right? I got to work hard like everybody else. That's his opinion. Anna Navarro's opinion is that, no, because he's white, he has this magical privilege, right? And somehow his life is easier than everybody else's life simply because he's white and he's male. That's her opinion. Her opinion is not more valid than his opinion, right? But these people really believe that because of their skin color, that their opinions hold more weight, right? That if they say that you are privileged because you're white, then that must be true, right? It has to be true, when that's just simply not the case. It does not have to be true. I think ultimately at the end of the day, Kamala Harris didn't lose because she was a so-called black woman or whatever. She lost because she was a bad candidate. She lost because she failed to distance herself from Joe Biden. She tried to become a fake moderate while not explaining why is it that she's now all of a sudden moderate after being the most liberal senator in American history. Okay? Kamala Harris tried to pretend that she wasn't a border czar. She wasn't responsible for all the illegals coming into the country. Okay? Kamala Harris tries to pretend that Democrats weren't responsible for what happened with the economy. They lied about the economy. They gaslit people. That is why she lost. But they don't want to admit that. And also on top of that, Trump was a good candidate, right? Let's not forget that. They try to diminish President Trump, but Trump was a good candidate, right? Trump is not an easy person to beat, as Democrats figured out the hard way. He beat Biden and he beat Kamala, right? He beat both of them. So, let's be real. Let's be real. If the whole white privilege thing was a thing, then theoretically, Joe Biden should have performed better than Kamala Harris. But again, Biden dropped out because apparently they had polls showing him losing in a historic landslide, right? I mean, that's why he had to drop out. And Kamala Harris, I think she ultimately ended up performing better than he would have performed against President Trump. So again, Biden's white privilege definitely didn't save him from the fact that his polls were bad, right? And that's the main reason that he dropped out. So Trump kind of beat the white man, right, Joe Biden, and he also beat Kamala Harris, the so-called woman of color.
This idea, hold on. If you stick with this plan, which is every time we lose an election, racism has to be involved.
That's not what I just said. I literally gave you a full picture.
Yeah,
but
I
gave you a full picture. And what I'm also saying is that, yes, I believe Joe Biden saying he'd win the election is delusional, right? So I said that because I also said that there's a certain point. But let me also explain with the equal level of delusion, you do understand that black folk, particularly black women, have to run twice as fast as you do to achieve the same goal. And if you do not understand...
I disagree with that.
You can.
I disagree with that
but
completely.
You can, and I'm just telling you that is the experience, whether or not you're in politics or the business world or education.
Let me ask you this. Then why pull Joe Biden from the candidacy?
That's your perceived experience, right? You don't know how hard he works, right? Again, I love how these people try to pretend like they know how hard white people work, right? They know how hard any white male works, and therefore any white male is going to have a privilege, or that they're not going to have to work as hard. It just doesn't make sense. It is one of the most ludicrous ideas out there from the left, that if you're a so-called person of color, you can tell a white person, specifically a white male, because they do this to white males more than anybody, that, hey, yeah, I work harder than you, right? You don't deserve what you deserve because you're white. It's ridiculous. It's nonsense. And again, this is the type of stuff that Democrats put out there. This is the base of their party. And I've said this before and I'll say it again. This is why they can't win the white vote. This is why. For as much as they're concerned about the so-called people of color vote, right, the black vote, the Latino vote, they really should be concerned about the white vote, right? Because Democrats, they struggle with white voters the most. That's who they struggle with. But it's because of stuff like this. It's because of stuff like this. So, hey, keep on Democrats. Keep blaming racism, sexism, telling white men that they don't work that hard and they don't deserve what they have, right, over other people because of their skin color. Keep doing it. I'm sure they'll work out for you when it comes to trying to get the white man vote. And keep putting out Tim Walsh as well, too, right? A white man that'll basically lash himself on behalf of the so-called people of color and the women, right, in order to try to guilt trip white males into vote Democrat. Yeah, keep using that strategy as well, too, because that is turning men away from the Democrat Party, okay?
You're saying it's true, then he would have won overwhelmingly, because you're saying it was twice as hard for him to win.
Let me just actually ask you something, because
you're not making any sense.
No, you just said that it's twice as hard for an African-American woman to win.
Given what you just said, if you believe that it would have been twice as hard for Kamala Harris to win, isn't it even more important for Joe Biden to have given her the ability to
I don't think that's a question,
distance
but that's not a question. And Anna brought up a good point, because out of all the people I said it's a good question. Yeah. I said out of all the people that are sitting around this table, I was actually a part of those discussions. And the person who did not want to distance himself because of loyalty, although she might not have had the loyalty given back from some of the women, particularly who were around Joe Biden, was Kamala Harris.
Yeah, but did Joe Biden say? But did Joe Biden ever say?
She did have it from Joe Biden.
Did Joe Biden ever say to her, "You need to do exactly what"?
That was a shot at Joe Biden, right? I think that was a shot at Joe Biden from Bakari Sellers, talking about the women in the Biden administration not having Kamala's back. I think that was a shot at Jill for sure.
You need to do to win this election. You need to pursue a policy that is what you need in order to win. So that's the answer.
I cannot let this go. I cannot let this go on this show in front of millions of Americans who will watch this, whether or not it's on Snapchat, TikTok, or Twitter. The point still remains, when we're talking about the issue of race and gender in this country, that everyone is not on equal playing fields. That the fact that, yes, we have a black woman, whether or not she is in academia, whether or not she's in business or in politics,
then are you going to run her again?
The field is not equal. She's actually the best candidate for governor of the state of Georgia, and whatever else she wants to do.
If she's so good, and it's only an issue of what you're saying.
I said California. What did I say?
Georgia.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Scott, hold on, Ben. Scott,
can I
go
just
ahead.
raise one other sort of forward-looking issue? Watching him on The View today and watching some of the interviews he did over.
Thank you for your viewership.
Yeah, I saw it. It's rare for me, but I did watch it.
You like Anna. That's what it is.
I will just say, watching him over the last few days reminded me that a whole bunch of people were telling us with a straight face that this man was capable of serving another 4 years as president, and that these appearances, coupled with what I understand is going to be the equivalent of a nuclear bomb dropped on the Democratic Party when Jake Tapper and Alex Thompson's book come out next week. I don't know that the Democrats have fully internalized what's about to happen to them. Between what he looks like today and what they're about to report, get ready.
I am not sure that Joe.
Wow. So Scott Jennings is basically saying that this book is going to have more explosive allegations against Joe Biden. That is going to make the Democrats look really, really, really bad. I mean, it's just funny to me to watch the mainstream liberal media kind of eat the Democrat Party, right? Basically, it seems to me that the mainstream liberal media is making the Democrats pay for forcing them to lose credibility, covering up for Joe Biden until they decided that they can't do that anymore, right? That's what's happening, right? It's almost like the journalists are deciding, you know what, we're going to get paid back. We're going to get paid back for losing our credibility. We defended the Democrats, right? We said that anybody that claimed that Joe Biden was cognitively declining is a conspiracy theorist, they're pushing out cheap fakes, all this stuff that they were saying at the time, right? If you don't believe that Biden's as sharp as he's ever been, F you, according to Joe Scarborough, okay? I think that the media is low-key getting paid back, right? In the sense that they are putting out these books, okay, and they're making money off of the fact that Democrats covered up what happened to Joe Biden. And the media covered up as well, too, right? They participated in the cover-up, but they participated in the cover-up on behalf of the Democrat Party. They don't like the fact that the Democrats essentially made them do the cover-up, right? And that's how they're getting their payback, right? By writing these books, embarrassing the Democrats, humiliating the Democrats, by revealing that, yes, they all basically lied about Joe Biden's mental condition. It's actually kind of crazy to me. It's crazy to see how these people are so ruthless, right? They're so ruthless. They're the same team, but they're really in it for themselves, right? They're on the same team, but they're all for their own personal gain. And you're seeing that kind of play out here with the fact that you have all of these liberal media people coming out the woodwork, writing these books saying that, yeah, Biden was actually mentally declining. The guy couldn't even do debate prep for 15 minutes without quitting and then going by the pool to go to sleep, to take a nap, which again, we were told all these things, all these reports, the Her report, all these reports from the GOP and others that, hey, Biden's not doing well, okay, that he's not as quick as he used to be. He's a little slow. We was told they were all lies. They were just making it up. It was conspiracies. Just for the media to admit that all of this stuff was true in order for them to make money, because they're upset that they lost credibility, right? So they're trying to gain their credibility back and also make some money off the downfall of the Democrat Party. It is fascinating.
Biden fully realizes even his own deficits in this moment, Anna. I think seriously, he seems to not, he was asked about it directly, and he doesn't seem to get it at all, which is part of the problem.
Well, look, Abby, I don't know many elected officials in any party who willingly walk away from their elected office, right? I think it's hard for everybody. Look, I think this was very hard for Joe Biden. I think he took responsibility for that. He did not say what you just said, Scott, that he said. You just said that he told. You said that he told Kamala Harris that she could not have any distance from him.
It's been reported. He told
it doesn't
her
matter what
point
he was.
blank. He told her point blank, no daylight, kid, no daylight.
Because reporting can never be wrong.
Are you attacking the journalism around it?
You think reporting can never be wrong?
If you want to be anti-journalism, I'll be
you come on here
pro-journalism,
and you attack reporting every night.
I do not.
We actually asked him the question
There's critical
directly.
reporting about this guy, and he told her point
blank,
blank, no daylight.
We asked him directly today.
Right.
Did you tell her that?
You think he's ever told a lie?
I don't think he tells many lies.
Cognitive decline, I can tell you that much.
I don't think he tells many lies. I don't think he's done.
Come on.
Wait. No, you know why you don't get to laugh like that? Because you support a guy who lies every freaking day and lies continuously. You support a guy.
What you just said.
Yeah, Joe Biden never lies, right? Like he didn't lie about saying that he wouldn't pardon his son, right? He never lies. Okay, when he came out and said, "No, I'm not going to pardon my son," just to turn around and do it. Yeah, I mean, this dude lies all the time. He lies all the time. And it's so funny to me how every time there's a liberal media report about Trump and something that allegedly was said behind closed doors, right? They believe it, okay? If it's negative about Trump, they believe it. If it's something negative about Joe Biden, again, reported by the liberal media, well, we don't know if that's true or not. It's like, okay, well, why don't you apply that same logic when it comes to any negative report about what was said behind closed doors of the Trump administration? Again, it's funny how that works. I don't know if Joe Biden told Kamala Harris that she can't have any daylight between them. But what I do know is that Kamala Harris ran her campaign like he told her that, right? So I'm just saying, it doesn't matter whether or not he actually said it. The way she ran her campaign suggests that she really did not want to throw Joe Biden on the bus, even though it was necessary for her to have a shot at winning. I think one of the main reasons why you started to see the polls fall, especially going into October, a month before the election, is because she failed to adequately explain what is different about her than Joe Biden. I think a lot of people at a certain point said, well, she's no different than Joe Biden. She can't explain how she's different. She can't tell us what she did wrong or any mistakes that she made. So it's like, vote for Joe Biden, right? Joe Biden's on the ballot, okay? That's essentially, I think, what happened.
Who cannot acknowledge that he lost the 2020 election
Jake Tapper
and that
right.
lies about it?
Yeah.
I have no idea what's in
guys.
Jake.
Everybody,
It's about the
Have you read
behind and the
it?
cover-up.
Have you read it?
Guys, we gotta
Have you
go.
read
Thank
it?
you very
He's done
much.
some interviews.
We'll
Okay.
be right back.
Yeah, so we're going to see what Jake Tapper has to say. Even though, again, Jake Tapper was one of these liberal media anchors that was running defense on behalf of the Democrats, and now he's out here writing books, dropping nuclear bombs on Democrats. According to Scott Jennings, we're going to see. We're going to see because Jake Tapper, I want you to understand how slimy these people are, right? He participated in the cover-up of Joe Biden, and then when it was too late, right, when he figured, I can make some money off the downfall of the Democrats, right, they decided to write a book acknowledging what everybody already knew, okay, and now Jake Tapper's going to use his platform, his own platform, to promote his book with these bombshells, alleged bombshells about Democrats, right? He's going to make the money, right? Even though he was one of these so-called journalists that was telling us that this is fake, you can't question Biden's mental fitness, it's inappropriate, yada, yada, and now he's making millions. He's going to be making millions off a book that, again, he told us that you're not supposed to say these things about the president, but he's saying them now. These people are snakes, man, right? I would hate to be on the left side of the aisle, really. I mean, there's all types of backstabbing going on. I mean, they're just in it for themselves, which I think part of the reason why the mainstream liberal media, the Democrats, I mean, they're in a state of free fall, right? They're in a state of free fall. So let me know what you guys think. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. Most importantly, share a Black conservative perspective. Peace.